Hey everyone, welcome back to the Second Chance podcast with Jeff Robertson. Up next, we've got Chris Lautenslager. Chris is amazing interview. We go through fatherhood, we go through addiction, we go down multiple rabbit holes of life and overcoming, and just what he's gone through and his struggles and his battles with addiction. So just wanted to warm everybody up. Thank you for listening. This is an episode. If you have that friend that's struggling, if you have that person who's overindulging, if you have someone in your life that's just riding down that bumpy road of destructive and reckless behaviors, it's a great listen. So make sure you share it with them. Certainly appreciate you liking, sharing, and commenting. All your feedback has been amazing. Thank you so much for just helping us get this off the ground, and I enjoy all the conversations. Love to be on here. Care who you are. If you just like to have a quick conversation about your life and things that's going on with you, I'd love to meet you. So let me know what you think about the episode. Can't wait to hear from you. All right, team. Welcome back to the Second Chance podcast with Jeff Robertson. Tonight's episode is one that's going to I think it's going to be one that's going to live on for a while. I'm excited for Chris Lautenslager to be on our podcast. Chris, before we got going, I just want to know, did I get it right? Because I forgot to ask.
You did. I was impressed.
I was rehearsing it. Chris, I had a name with the same last name growing up. So you made it easy when I saw it. I'm like, I wonder if they're kids. I'm just excited, team, to welcome someone who embodies what it means to truly turn your life around. Chris is a keynote speaker, author, and the founder of Get Loop, where he helps small business owners build value-driven companies. Chris's journey has taken him from the high-stakes world of Wall Street to overcoming personal battles with addiction, and now he's focused on helping entrepreneurs integrate core values into their personal and professional lives. His story of transformation is not only powerful but practical, showing that with hard work, perseverance, and a commitment to your values, you can turn even the darkest moments into a successful and fulfilling future. Chris, welcome. Glad you're here, my man.
Jeff, I love that intro because it's all true. No matter how dark it can be, we are blessed with an opportunity to have a second chance. And I am thrilled to be able to share my story of a second chance and to encourage others that might be going through and questioning, what their current situation is. It doesn't matter what it is. Do not give up. You have a future.
Yeah. It's never too late to change. It's never too late. Times change. I think sometimes we take for granted how much times do change. And we're probably, we struggle to adapt with those too. So,
well, we do change with the times. Are you the same person you were 10 years ago, Jeff?
If you'd asked me 10 years, I've been struggling to keep up with that person I was 10 years before that. But now, no, absolutely not.
Yeah. It's part of the evolution of growth of the human existence it is our evolution as human beings. And that's the challenge and the opportunity. Change is a two-way street. We can change for the better. We can change for the worse. But that's a choice that we get to participate in.
Yeah, absolutely. Your journey from Wall Street to wellness is inspiring. What was the catalyst for deciding to make such a drastic life change?
Well, Jeff, I have to tell you, I work with addicts now, business owners who are struggling in crisis. One of the things that has been a blessing for me is being able to share with people my story and to give them inspiration that no matter how difficult it is, and many small business owners find themselves in difficult situations, there is people that are willing to help. We live in an amazing country that's filled with loving, generous, helping human beings. And I know particularly when you're struggling with drugs or alcohol, that at times it doesn't seem that way, that everything's stacked against you, but that's your lens. Okay. I promise you, there are people and resources that are out there that are willing to help. And what occurred with me is what occurs with many when you're sick and tired of being sick and tired. It's usually when you lose something that you either never thought you could lose before or that is really super precious for you. And in my case, I lost two things. I lost all my wealth and I lost my family. My children stopped speaking to me because they couldn't see the pain. They couldn't continue to experience the pain of dealing with a father that they loved who was a drug addict.
How old would you put your kids during this time?
They were in high school.
Ah, I got
They
you.
were old enough to be tired of the bullshit.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's part of being an addict and an alcoholic is even when you're, quote, functioning, okay, when you're doing all the things that you think are supposed to be doing, things are slipping through the cracks. Your persona, your energy, your personality, when you lose your temper in inappropriate situations, when you don't show up and you had promised that you would, all the things that you make excuses for is, quote, not a big deal because you're doing all the other things. You're going to work, you're paying the bills, you're doing all the things you're supposed to be doing as a dad. The thing that you're not doing is sharing the part of you that's the most vulnerable, the most loving, the most consistent, and caring for those that care for you. And that's palatable.
Before we did, Chris, is it something you always struggle with? To paint that just a little bit of a picture for us, is it something that has been in your life, or you discover it as you became an adult, or how did it look like?
So the world that I grew up in, Jeff, was a world filled with addiction.
Yeah.
My parents were both alcoholics. My father was also a very physical and angry man. So we had a crazy household. And both my parents died from their addictions. My dad died at 48. My mom died after she had suffered a stroke and had been severely handicapped with her whole right side was paralyzed for 10 years. These things that when a doctor tells you you need to start taking better care of yourself or, X, Y, or Z might happen. Well, X, Y, and Z happened with my parents and they died super young. So they're not just kidding. I wish actually doctors had a better capacity to be able to more vividly portray the consequences of actions that we don't think are actually going to have an impact on us. But drinking and doing drugs, smoking cigarettes, eating poorly, all those things have an impact and can and do ultimately upend your life. So within my family, drugs and alcohol ravaged it, and have done so. My older brother was murdered in a drug deal when he was 20 years old. Both my parents passed when I was young. My younger brother committed suicide in a blackout when he was 35. And my sister recently died of cirrhosis, uh, a horrible disease, a painful, debilitating, slowly dying disease. So it's hard. And guess what? Their parents were alcoholics and their parents were alcoholics. I've seen it within my family environment for literally generations. So it's genetic. It is nurture and nature. We all had the gene and we all encourage that gene to flourish in our lifestyles. So it was not a surprise that I was, quote, a partier, that I was out there and acting in a manner that everyone around me was acting. What was the surprise is having the ability to be able to stop. That's the surprise.
You broke the curse, my man.
I did break the curse.
Yeah. I speak to that when I do. I wore my sweatshirt today. It's ironic, to get in this deep with you, but I did. I had this whole keynote I do on breaking the curse. It's based on some, not my experiences with Noah or yours, Chris. But we broke them and we replanned a new family tree. Not, but you did that, my man. You broke that.
I did. I was the first parent that didn't beat my children. My father beat us and his father beat him. And I,
Does your kids know that, Chris?
oh my gosh. So when they were super young, again, this is the world that I grew up in, and they were misbehaving and I spanked them.
Yeah.
They were maybe 4 or 5, 3 or 4 at the time, and I spanked them. And it was the worst experience of my life. For any of you that have never done it, it's crazy. They're not just sitting there waiting to get spanked. They're screaming and yelling and squirming and fighting, and there's all this drama and craziness going on. And I walked away from that experience feeling horrid.
Yep.
I was like, this is insane. And I apologized and told them I would never create fear in the relationship with my children again. And I broke that cycle, and I'm super proud of that. That I broke. I consider the miracle of getting or of getting sober as a miracle that I was blessed with. But that was a choice that I made in which I will never encourage or pursue that type of behavior modification, corporal punishment. That's freaking insanity.
I'm same experience. Popped my son on the butt one time. He cried. I cried. We sat down on the couch.
That's terrible, isn't it?
Yeah, he's rubbing me on the head. Then he's like, "Daddy, it'll be okay." And I was like, "Oh, you don't understand." I said, "If me and you can't figure out how to talk it out, then me and you should be working as a team." And from that day forward, man, we will sit down and have a conversation. Explain consequence. I chew on butt because that's just I enjoy chewing butt sometimes, and we have fun with it. But I tell you, that's a powerful moment. I don't want to overlook it, and I want to be able to share as a dad, and two dads here talking to hopefully thousands of other dads. These two dudes right here that can give you some advice. And if you want to take some advice from Chris tonight, we can stop this recording and move on. It's what the man just said right there. You ain't got to pass that crap on.
No, you do not. You do not have to carry that burden because it is a burden. It is a horrible experience.
Yeah, I'm telling you, I see, because what Chris has spoke to, we'll go to my question, but here's what I want folks to realize is it's that cycle. And it's passed on to him, it came down to me, to where it's just the way it is, and this is the way we do it, this, that, and the other. And you can stop. You do not have to move on to the next phase. You can decide how you want to re-raise or retrain the whole mindset of your. So don't think that just because you got a heavy pen means you have to pass it on. That's really great advice, Chris. I'm glad this came up, man, because it hasn't came up in some of my podcasts like it has today. And it's like I said, I 100% and relate to what you said.
Thank you, Jeff.
How did your experiences with addiction shape your approach to value-driven leadership, especially in business?
Oh boy. So, there is not drinking and not using drugs. And first of all, I'm all for that. If you have an issue with drugs or alcohol, not doing those behaviors, that activity is helpful. It will change your life. But I know many people that don't drink or use drugs and are not sober. They do not actually take it to the next level. And they're kind of missing the dessert of the whole experience of being able to have an examined life of identifying what works for you and what doesn't. And we have, we have suggestions. We have a fellowship. I go to meetings, not all the time. I go to meetings that I love. I go to meetings in which I get to share with people that I have friendships with, deep friendships with, that allow me to be able to share common experiences and also build on those into doing fun activities in life. So we have a commonality, being able to learn from other people, because when you go and participate in fellowship, in meetings, or in some type of spiritual program, part of that is talking about and sharing about your personal experiences. And that creates bonds, that creates learning experiences. We can all learn from books, but it's from learning from the experiences of others that allow us to leapfrog beyond our own capacity, to be able to broaden our own experiences and understanding of ourselves, our world, and our relationship with others. And that's really the joy that sobriety has brought to me. It's not just stopping, but it's being able to use that platform of not using drugs and not drinking to build a deeper, more thoughtful, more intuitive based life.
Yeah. Yeah, and you make it, Chris, you make it sound so easy.
I didn't say it was easy, but
But
I
when
did say it's interesting.
you make it you make it sound so easy. What are the core values that guided your recovery, and how those same values played a role in your success as a business owner?
So I have incorporated a regular morning routine. And this is over years and years and years and years of practice. I first came into getting sober back in 1983, and I relapsed in 2010, and now I'm sober again. I've been sober for 7 years. And, um, uh, that period of time that I was sober before I relapsed, and we can talk about that relapse and the second chance that I got from that. I've actually had 3 chances.
Yeah,
Um, so
you've had a lot of chances. We just talked.
I am a walking miracle. I feel so grateful. I'm so
Yeah,
fortunate. And it's one of the reasons why I'm so active in extending my hand to help others,
yeah,
because people have extended their hand to help me multiple times. We don't all get it sometimes the first time, and simply because we struggle or we fail in certain endeavors doesn't mean that we can't overcome those challenges and proceed. Life's not linear. Life's a series of 2 steps forward, 3 steps back, and it's a dance. And the sooner that you can embrace that you're going to fail in things, and believe me, embrace is a funny word. It makes it sound like, hey, it's okay, I'm failing. Failure sucks, okay? It it's painful, it's embarrassing, it's hurtful, it's it's difficult, okay? But being able to have a sense of perspective of the sun's going to rise again tomorrow, and I can give myself permission to lick my wounds tonight, and maybe tomorrow too. But I got to pick myself up, and I've learned certain things that I can do to help that process of healing, of picking myself up. Similarly, of going through exercises. When if you go through a 12-step program, there's a series of activities that you do of self-examination and reconciliation, and then part of the continual spiritual journey. I've taken the steps and done the work to identify what my values are. Every morning I have a morning process. I get up super early in the morning. I'm a morning person. Who'd have thought that back when I was a young man, a little boy, and my father, who owned a construction company, would wake me up at 4 a.m. to go to work, and I'd be cursing below my breath, that actually was the foundation of learning how to really get up and participate in life. I now get up voluntarily at 4:30 every morning, and I spend that time, the first hour and a half every day, in meditation, in journaling, in reading spiritual materials, in doing affirmations, in reciting. I have 12 values that I've identified that are important to me, that I write down and I remind myself, what are the values that are important to me, that I live by, that provide me guidance. These are things that I consciously do. And again, this is from me. I know that a lot of people are like, well, that's great for you, you crazy son of a gun. But I have kids and I have this and I have that. I understand. You find the path that works for you, that brings you joy. I've just done the work that I know the path that brings me joy. And starting out the day with a foundation of spiritual principles, of examination of what's important to me today, what are my goals, how do I want to achieve them, what's bothering me, what steps can I take to eliminate that, why am I feeling irritable, why did I have an argument with my girlfriend last night over the fact that she told me how to drive the car. Is that really that important? What's really bothering me? It's not the fact that she's telling me how to drive, even though I'm a damn good driver. It's not the issue. What is the issue? And unless you actually take the time, for me, to learn about how I think, what brought that up, what's the important aspects associated with my life, my relationship with my girlfriend is far more important than whether or not my feelings get hurt because she doesn't think I stopped long enough at that stop sign. When I can place things in proper perspective, when I can remind myself of what's important to me and to the people around me, my day goes better. I mean, Jeff, my day goes a hell of a lot better, to the point where I start feeling like I'm rocking it. You know how there's periods in my life where I've done well, where I have just felt like I am rushing it. Well, what I found, particularly as I get older, that I started putting two and two together. Those periods in my life weren't by accident. I started noticing that I had been doing things like exercising regularly, like eating well. I wasn't overweight. I was volunteering and giving of others. I started identifying behavior patterns that seemed to foster my ability to crush it.
Yeah.
So I heard something, I read, I listen to podcasts, I learn. I heard something on a podcast just the other day about manifestation and about how most people often manifest what they want. And the suggestion was you manifest who you need to be to get what you want. It's not the thing that you're manifesting. It's not the car or the job. It's the values and principles and behaviors you need to embody to attain those higher levels of performance. And that's what I do early in the morning to start my day.
Heard, just looking to see if I still have it. Heard, I just be I'll find it, I'll send it, I'll put it in notes. I think it's be the person that you need to be. Do the things you need to do so you can have the things.
Sums it up beautifully.
I'm pretty sure that's how I've heard that frame as well.
I love that. It sums it up beautifully.
Yeah. Be the person. And the person that was explaining it to me is said exactly like you do, that we put the do first.
No, we do the have first.
That's it.
You think the
Yeah,
have is what the manifestation is about.
yeah.
If
Hey,
I the secret, if I only think about this, if I only think about this, I'm gonna
yep,
visualize this. It's actually you visualize and you create the persona of who you need to be, and you do the actions to create that persona, and that brings you to getting what you want.
yeah. It's a powerful morning routine. Um,
I've been doing it for years, and guess what? My life has never been better. It's not a coincidence.
Looking back on your time at Wall Street, what was the biggest misconception you had about success, and how's that changed for you now?
That money is the most important thing in your life. So, I had mentioned that my father had a small construction business, and
Mhm.
that's part of the reason why I'm so passionate about small businesses. I grew up in a small business family, and um, he lost that business and actually died of a heart attack because he was going bankrupt due to the financial crisis of the oil embargoes of the 70s. He was in construction and asphalt, and the price of oil quadrupled overnight, and the construction industry stopped on a dime like that. And through no fault of his own, he could not pay his bills anymore, and he did not know how to be able to talk about that or what he could do about that. And so he literally worried himself to death. And when I first started talking to business owners today, I was like, well, that's old. That doesn't happen anymore. People are far more enlightened. They feel like they can talk to people about their challenges now. Nope. I think, one of the missions that I feel really is really important is the mis is the that business owners are leaders, okay? But they don't believe that, or they have this misconception that leading means that they have to not only make all the decisions, they have to be always right, and that they can't talk to anyone about about A, their mistakes, or
Yeah.
B, um, their fears or challenges. Um, you need to be able to talk to someone. Otherwise, you'll end up like my father, who died of a heart attack in the parking lot of the doctor after he was telling them that he couldn't sleep at night. And the doctor said, go home and stop worrying so much. Died in the parking lot of that doctor's office that day. We need to talk to people, even when we hate it, even when we're terrified of it, even when we don't want to do it. And so I help business owners that they have a terribly isolating situation. And in addition, because they're responsible and in charge, they often have a tremendous amount of lack of accountability. Okay. They find themselves in shenanigans. And shenanigans manifest itself in all sorts of distractions. And that's what it is. It's distractions because you're because of for a number of different reasons that are all psychological and deep and really don't matter. What matters is that you're in trouble, and it manifests in either drinking, drugs, women, stealing, etc. Debt, porn. Um, I've I've done them all. I've distracted myself with all of the ways that you possibly can, because the because really fundamentally you're afraid, and you feel like you have nowhere to turn. So I give them that option. In fact, if there's anybody out there that you need to talk to about options, what are your options? How can you get help? Because there is help out there. I now deal with business owners that are in crisis, that are really struggling, usually with drugs and alcohol, and helping them be able to navigate their ways to a recovery.
And so that is the primary focus of um shucks. What's the name of the business, Chris?
Get Looped. So you can go to www.get-looped.com, and that'll allow you to reach out to me. I also do speaking gigs in regards to if associations or organizations need someone to talk with about businesses, being a small business owner, about being an advocate for small businesses. I love speaking the praises of small business in this country. They truly are the backbone of our nation. They're the fabrics of our community. We can't survive without them. So it's our responsibility as consumers to support them. I love to be able to inspire and support people that work to create better lives for us all.
What is the main mission of Get Loop? What is your I am passionate about?
So I am passionate about small businesses and business owners who are in crisis. That's really what I'm focusing on.
Problem solving.
Not problem solving. So I got my MBA from a very fine school. I worked at some of the largest firms. I know all about profit margins and P&Ls, and I got my undergrad in accounting. I can work my way around most financial problems. I don't want to talk to you about that. I want to talk to you about the things that you're afraid to talk with other people about.
The underlying issue.
The things that are important to you.
Yeah. What advice would you give to the small business owner who's struggling to integrate personal values with personal values with professional decisions?
Well, first of all, we're going to assume that you're past the point where you're in crisis and that you're actually on the pathway to growth. Then if you're on the pathway to growth, this is when it becomes really an amazing journey, because this is when you actually not only start to change your life, but you start to see the results of those changes in yourself and in the relationships you have with others. When was the last time your wife or partner looked at you with pride? When was the last time she complimented you on how happy she is for the things that you're doing to make life better for not just her, but for others? I'm telling you, there is steps that you can take that start to create a better you. And that means identifying your values and your purpose and what's important. Okay. So, people are like, well, I have my business and my business isn't about saving the world. It's like, great. Okay. First of all, I'm a capitalist. Your business is you need to make money to stay in business. We're all in agreement on that. And let's make sure you're making money to stay in business. Now, how do we turn that business into an environment that you thrive in? Okay. And here's kind of the secret that most business owners don't recognize. If you want to thrive in your business, make it an environment that others thrive in. The whole concept of and again, I'm very conscious of costs. I know the cash flow is the lifeblood of small businesses. But when your entire focus is on minimizing costs and minimizing what you're paying people, what you're giving people, what your interaction and contributions are to society and to those around you, your return will be minimized. Okay. There are most certainly ways to create incentives, to create feedback, to create a culture that incorporates values. What are important values that feed the business, that create a culture of trust and support and honesty with each other, that allow you to be able to thrive. Now, I'm going to get into a little detail real quick, just to give you an example. Hiring. Look, a bad hire can destroy your business. And we've all been there. And most bad hires start based on only examining a skill set of a resume. and asking, can you do this job? Okay. Instead of finding examples of how would you handle this that are based on values, on integrity, on honesty, on compassion, on consistency, on being able to show up every day and contribute with a positive attitude. You can teach people the skill sets. Generally, they need the basics, but fundamentally, I'd rather have someone who has been raised in a household that is filled with honesty and integrity, in which someone has consistently demonstrated a mindset of giving. I'll teach them how to sell. I'll teach them how to be an accountant. Those are skills that are easily transferable. But the core values, the ones that will excel your culture to the next level, those are the things that you need to hire for. Those are the real values, the contributing factors that can allow your organization to go to the next level. People do matter. In fact, they matter more than anything else.
Hire the value, train the skill.
I don't think you can train values.
Yeah, I'm with you. That's yeah. Now you're we've
I'm
done.
sorry to say, it's one of those things that
You either got integrity or you don't, right?
it's super. Now, people, don't get me wrong. People that get sober and learn integrity, but the thing about people that get reborn's too strong is a scary word for many people, but literally, when people have a spiritual experience, it is a different human being that emerges from that experience. Okay. But to learn values from a book, to learn values from a series of exercises, I've never seen it work.
Yeah.
But I have seen people that were liars, thieves, drug addicts, promiscuous. I was going to use a different word. Change their lives in ways that can only be described as miraculous.
Yeah.
And I'm one of those people.
What common mistakes do you see when it comes to aligning values with business growth? And, how some ways that business owners can avoid those?
So there's a misconception that business is about making money and that values is about living life. And I think that's a sure a formula for not having fun at work. We spend so much time at work. I understand your work's about making money, and my father was in the paving company. For God's sake, it says, manufacturing, certain professions. People are like, well, there's no purpose in this profession. You can create purpose. You can create value in anything. In anything. It's what you do with the skill sets or the energy or the activities that you create. So, okay, I know of an organization who one of the members of the family is one of his parents was struggling with dementia, and they were having a really hard time being able to consistently show up at work because they were the primary carekeeper. And when we brought that up in the work environment, it gave people an opportunity to provide support, to get behind a cause that was right there in front of them, that was tangible. So let's look at Alzheimer's. When you create a culture in which people are providing some type of service or help or contribution to a community. We'll call it Alzheimer's in this case. And then you bring the recipients of that generosity into your company to share how it touched them on a consistent basis. That's how you get people all psyched up to be involved in helping others. When you see how the activities that you are engaged in actually touch other people's lives, that's when stuff starts to become magical.
And you, as your recovery business, at what point in time does Get Looped come along, and how does your mentorship and your just passion for helping and speaking? Not everybody has that. A lot of people have recovered, but not everybody has that gift to go out and teach and speak and become an advocate of. But how does mentorship impact your recovery? And then your transition into entrepreneurship. How does just being a mentor, how does that help you? And what did that look like as it was coming to life for you?
So that took time to develop. In fact, it was a journey. So my journey started as I'm a selfish fuck and I'm in it for me, to I'm a selfish fuck and I want to make a lot of money so that I can get X, Y, or Z or prove my et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, to I want to help other people because it'll help me. I'm getting something out of this.
Yeah.
And I felt that's a transition stage for all of you out there. Don't let that stop you from helping other people. You know, some people call it fake it till you make it. I helped other people strictly for the selfish reasons of what am I going to get out of it, or I'm expecting this out of it because I'm helping other people. At some point in time, as you start to experience the positive benefits and rewards of seeing other people be touched by the efforts that you're making, you inadvertently transition into, I want to do this simply because I get joy out of doing this. And that's, I guess, that's kind of a miracle again in the transition from being self-focused, which is a lot of our society, to being self-focused with a good reason to actually caring about others. And that's a transition that comes, if you haven't already learned it from growing up, comes from practice. Okay? Reach out, help others. Reach out, help others. I never could understand the whole concept of charities, of doing volunteer work, of doing all of this stuff. I'm fucking busy. And, again, I'm focused about me. But as you do that more and more and more, it becomes a much more, it's like any other thing you practice. It becomes a much more natural habit and experience to the point now where I naturally want to do it. In fact, my girlfriend, she sometimes thinks that I have too strong a case of volunteerism. And I do. And I do need to tone it back a little bit. But I recently started taking on a new role in which I get to bring people into treatment and help guide them into getting sober on a professional level that has been really supplementing the mentoring that we've been talking about. So right now, I give away my services at Get Looped. You need help finding services to get sober, to get straight. I'm happy to guide you. I'm in the process of, actually, I'm just going to leave it at that. I give it away. If you need help and I can help you, I will help you. Period. Super simple.
We'll make sure that we include all this on the content. They're like in your links and everything. We had talked about this. So folks, wait, we'll make sure that we get you all connected.
Yeah,
If you
I
need,
used to, Jeff, I used to sell consulting services. I used to have a class. I used to do all that. And I, now that I have a different revenue source.
yeah,
And so I'd just rather give it away.
okay. I was going to ask because I wanted to speak to someone who may be listening that there's sometimes, and I've been here. Just remember, you can help people, but there's a little bit. Make sure you help yourself too. Make
Of
sure you're
course,
making some money, making sure your
I'm a
income.
capitalist, believe me.
Yeah. So like I use the words in some of my meetings. Broke people can't help. So make sure you can think. Especially when you're working in business and things along these lines. And what happens,
Absolutely.
a lot of people just stop everything. They have no income coming in. They're trying to help people, and they need help themselves.
Yeah.
So keep that in mind. Just make sure we got some income that's coming in there.
I have an
But
income stream that
yeah,
allows me to be able to be altruistic in regards
yeah,
to helping other people get sober.
that leans into just good, solid business success, and
Yeah, it's
money's
awesome. You
money
know,
fixes a lot of
one of the
problems.
I love small business owners, and they like talking with me because A, I come from that world. I know what that world's like. B, I know business extraordinarily well. I've been very successful at business. And C, I know sobriety really well. And so these are areas that I have real strengths in. And so there's nothing that you're going to run by me that I don't have an understanding of, or the ability to be able to be empathetic about.
Even and folks, there's people, and so I've said this myself. There's no one out there that's going to understand what's going on in my situation. There's no one else going to. I'm struggling to find someone to talk to. That people are saying that, but here's what you'll find. Chris kind of hit it on the head. He has struggled with things that a lot of our listeners are struggling with. So that's not no longer an excuse. Reach out for Chris.
Yeah.
He's not.
And if I can't help you, I'll find someone that can.
You mentioned your relapse,
Mm,
and you wanted, if you feel comfortable, want to talk about that.
sure.
I wanted to share that as we're, um, and I want to bring that out because I think
No, it's
that's
super important. I'm
we all
happy
do.
to.
Yeah, I think
So, I went to Wall Street to get rich, plain and simple. I got my MBA at Northwestern because I wanted to get rich. And I did. And the thing about wealth, no, about rich, is that it's never, you make $250,000 one year, you want to make $500,000 the next year. You make 2 million one year, you want to make 5 million the next year. It's a never ending journey of chase. And I was on that journey. And I was surrounded in Connecticut, in Fairfield County, and I had the whole package: the house, the country club, the cars, the dog with the white picket fence, the whole fucking package.
yeah.
Um, and I have to say, when I was really, I just like myself a lot more now that that's not my priority and that I got. When 2008, 9, and 10 came and I lost all my wealth through no fault of my own, when all the things that were important and of value to me were taken away from me, I was pretty angry. It was unfair. It wasn't my fault. I'd done all the right things. Um, it's funny. I don't know why, but the story of Job comes to mind right now. And fucking Job had it hard. It's actually a great story. I wasn't Job, but I felt like I had been abandoned. Um, and so, you know, one night it was, I heard the lies in my mind. And here are some of the lies that if you're sober and you hear these lies, this is really scary stuff. It was, only once. I'll only do this once. No one will know. That's a super scary one.
Mm.
No one will know. I'll get back to my life tomorrow. And that once that no one would know turned into my becoming a meth addict and losing everything. And it didn't happen all in one day. And it didn't happen in 1 week. But there's a shift. The dam has been broken. You don't have that mental capacity to say no anymore. And 1 turns into 3, and then 3 turns into 5, and then 5 turns into nightly, and then nightly turns into all day, and then all day turns into hiding and shame and deceit, and then it all goes away. So, and then it's how do I get back? And getting, here's another lie. I know how to stop.
Yeah.
Okay. It's really hard to stop again. It wasn't until I left New York and took a geographic and moved to a little small town in the mountains of Colorado that has a population of 4,500 people, and crawled into an AA meeting and asked for help. And people loved me back to life, that I was able to regain my life. So the lesson here was I couldn't do it by myself. Okay. I reached out for help. I don't know anyone that can do it by themselves. And as I had started out with this discussion, I'm so glad that I don't, because the joy of being sober, as opposed to just not drinking or using drugs, is doing it with others, is the relationships, the friendships, the laughter, the joy, the support that we get from getting help from others.
Was there a rock bottom moment there that you would say, or was there this, I got to find this meeting, or was there a nudge? Was there there's a sign I'm going in here because I've done this before. This is what I'm looking for. What was that?
I had run out of money, and I had changed locations, and I was, really, it was at the point that I had no place else to go.
Yeah.
I had no friends. Drug addicts didn't want to hang out with me. I had no job. I had nothing. My family wouldn't talk to me. My friends wouldn't. Oh. I have a great story. So, yes, there was a moment. I overlooked this. So I went undergrad at University of Colorado, and I have friends that are like brothers to me. Okay, I have friends that are brothers to me, and they treat me like a brother. So I go out to Boulder and drop my stuff off at my friend's house, and he is from Montana, and he has a beautiful family cabin up in the mountains of Montana. And he invites me to come up, and I go on up there, and I'm smoking crack and drinking and hiding all this from him. But I'm just wired as can be. I'm a fucking nutcase. And as fate would have it, there's literally a forest fire going on outside of town. I have pictures of it. There's smoke. There's smoke. And the smoke's getting thicker and thicker and thicker. And I'm like, Fred, we got to go. We got to go. And he's like, I'm not leaving the house. We're not leaving. And literally, the fire department's coming up the street. The smoke is super thick now. You can see the flames down the street, and they're calling out on the loudspeaker, everyone evacuate, everyone evacuate. And I'm like, we got to go. And he's like, I'm not leaving. And I'm like, fine. So I literally stole his car. This is like my brother. I literally stole his car. And he calls me on my cell phone. And he's like, where are you? I'm like, I'm leaving. He's like, you have the car. I'm like, you don't want to leave. I do. I'm taking the car. I'll drop it off. And he's like, he's now all upset and he's going to call the police. And it's crazy drug addict stuff. Okay. All this drama and stuff. And I'm literally at a hotel room in Billings. I'm going to abandon the car there. I'm thinking about how my friend's done me wrong and he doesn't understand me. And a mutual friend of ours calls me up and he just says, Chris, what are you doing? And I broke down in tears. I was like, wait a minute. And he's like, he said, these are the steps you take. Go home, go to a meeting, get sober again. And that's what I did.
Those are powerful. I'm like, those, what are you doing? What are your buddy's saying, what are you doing?
What are you
Perfect
doing?
time, right? Yeah, those are just the absolute best words. And I can only imagine just that moment of you going,
what am I doing?
what am I doing? Right? And it's the voice, it's everything, it's a moment, it's it's divine intervention, right? I've talked to my buddies that's experienced, man, crazy, and great success getting through that.
And those people, believe me, they were mad.
Yeah.
It took a year for those relationships to heal. No, it took actually almost 2 years of me being sober. And as one of them said, I didn't want you to be around because I was afraid. I didn't know what could happen. And he was right to be afraid. But they've both forgiven, embraced, loved me. We're best of friends again. They understand the nature and the tragedy of addiction. So if you have a family member out there who's crazy, who's an addict, who's a drunk, I a little bit of advice. They're sick, they're crazy, they're drunk. Don't hold them too personally responsible, but don't tolerate it either. Stay away. They're dangerous. They will hurt you emotionally, if not physically. So until they get their act together, don't put yourself through that abuse. They're crazy. But once they do and they show that they're genuinely intent on changing their lives, please, please, please open your heart to forgive them and allow them to re-enter your life. Forgiveness is an act not just for them, but an act for you also. It'll help change your life too.
Is that the core message that you like to leave? Or is that
I love that. I think that's a great core message. Forgiveness is for not just the person you're forgiving, it's for you too. It's a horrible weight to carry around your neck, to be angry at someone.
Oh, gosh. Yeah.
And believe me, if they're an addict or an alcoholic, they're crazy.
Yeah.
Would you be mad at someone because they had a broken leg and they couldn't run the race? No. Forgive them.
It's a great message. And I think if you're on the other side of that, and a friend and I were talking the other day, don't forget to forgive yourself too. Uh, I think there's a lot of big steps that happen when you can get right with you and forgive yourself for no, for all things, and just move forward and um, feel better. Man, the air smells better, the damn water tastes better, right?
Life
It's
is good.
just by just saying, you know what, I'm not holding on to this no more. I'm done.
I'm done.
Moving on. It's powerful, dude.
Really fun, Jeff. Thanks for reminding me of that story.
It's good. I'm glad it came back, and I've had moments like these now where something that I told my, if you get me going, my browser, just keep talking, and kind of get my brain, I'll start telling the story. And then I'll call a buddy, run down, like, hey, I need this number, find this person. And then I end up connecting, like, I was just telling a story. And just through those random thoughts. But as we close, getloop.com or get-loop.com, I think is your website. But let's take a few minutes here and just let everyone know how they can connect with you, what that website looks like, what is the best way if you want to connect with Chris, and highly recommend if you're in this situation where he can help you, he's opened up the door for you. So let's
Reach
take a
out.
second. Yeah,
So
let us know. Yeah.
go to my website, www.get-looped. Go to the info, contact. There's plenty of options, opportunities on the site to be able to reach out to me and simply message me. I get all my emails, and I promise you I'll get back in touch.
Well, man, I thank you for taking time and sharing your story.
Jeff, it was really fun. Thank you.
Oh, it was amazing. For folks that don't know, Chris and I connected online, and this was my get to know him. And I really appreciate it. You're that story that the Second Chance podcast loves to amplify. And you're that light and the what has become that hope for those people that are struggling. And you're a testament that no matter how bad you've done or what the situation is, life goes on. And you get to, if you do it right, get yourself straight, you can live and live a very, very powerful and impactful life. And that's what you're doing, my man. Appreciate you sharing all that with me and allowing me to amplify this through my platform. So, Chris Lautenschlager,
Well done.
uh, um, is man, I was thinking about your name, but I was like, Chris Lautenschlager, and on the Second Chance Podcast.